being demonstrably before lunch. So if you feel like being enthusiastic, please just clink your coffee cups with your forks and knives and spoons that you have already in front of you, which is not awkward for us at all. So I will introduce Sarah to begin our program. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. As Rebecca said, my name is Sarah Shannon. I'm a senior associate on our facilitation and public involvement team at PRR. A little bit about PRR. We are a full-service communications firm headquartered in Seattle with offices around the country. We do everything from community engagement to marketing and PR to a creative suite that does video and website development. We primarily focus in transportation, health, environment, and development. So we've done a lot of work with airports over the years. Most recently, we've been working with SeaTac Airport on their Sustainable Airport Master Plan, along with WSDOT, the Washington State Department of Transportation, on their statewide aviation system plan. So a lot of community engagement and marketing for both of them. So today I wanted to talk about community engagement and how to best reach the broad audiences that airports engage with. I think we're all really familiar with traditional outreach tactics like open houses and community briefings and focus groups. And they're great tools, and I'm not saying we should replace them, but I think there are some things that we can do to supplement them and to reach kind of that broader audience base. I think one of the big challenges with these traditional outreach tactics is that we're really only reaching a small portion of the population, typically the airport communities or key stakeholders that are involved with airports. But airports are big and they have a regional impact, and so I think kind of expanding the conversation and including more people can be really beneficial. So I wanted to spend some time today talking about some digital tools that can be great additions to these traditional outreach tactics. So I'm going to kind of go through a few different approaches and give some examples. I'm going to start with online open houses and then talk about videos and online surveys, and then how social media can kind of drive your audiences to these different tools. So online open houses are great as standalone or as supplemental to those traditional outreach tactics. There's a wide variety of platforms out there right now that kind of can be tailored to what your project goals and needs are. They can be that direct one-on-one conversation where you're engaging with them in the moment, or you can have kind of standalone sites that people can visit on their own time and just submit their comments, and you can collect the comments in that more traditional format. They're also great because you can use various types of media. You can use graphics, you can use video, you can use your traditional boards that you have in your in-person open houses. So they're really, really customizable. One example that I wanted to kind of talk through is what we did for Sound Transit, Federal Way Link Extension. I don't know how familiar people are with Seattle, but we're expanding light rail throughout the city and the region. And so we developed the site for Sound Transit. It was a standalone page where people could visit on their own time, and it started with a video and kind of provided a project overview. And then it was further draft EIS. So then participants had the opportunity to choose different routes and see the impacts associated with those route options. So it really allowed people to kind of focus on what was important to them in the areas that were a priority instead of kind of this large, massive dump of information. And then people could submit comments at the end, and Sound Transit collected those comments and then move forward also with traditional open houses as well. So it was a really nice supplement to what is normally done. As you just saw, they had a video. Video is a great tool. It can be used on a variety of platforms. It can be used on your website and social media. I think that video is something that a lot of people are probably already doing, but it really provides a great way for you to get some firsthand perspectives out there, whether it's with your customers or with your employees or your vendors. So I wanted to show a video that we did for SeaTac Airport for their concessions program. And it's about 3 minutes long, so if it's really boring, just pretend to fall asleep and I'll tell Wes to stop it and I'll move on with my presentation. Get the music, but not the video. There we go.
The Hudson operation has 22 stores. We have 2 cafes and a couple of specialty stores, including Made in Washington and Life is Good. Interacting with thousands of customers, it's just such a unique experience and just different every day. And that's what makes this job so exciting.
It's busy and fast-paced. We start our day early in the morning. We'll be here late. It's a lot of work, but it's fun.
One thing I like about the airport is that it's built-in customers from the second you open till the second you close. We got a lot of support from the people at the airport. They really held our hand and guided us through it. That was really great. So there wasn't a lot of mystery. There was a lot of direction, a lot of explanation. That was really helpful, a lot of guidance. It took a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but it all paid off.
The Wishing Stone is an ACDBE, which is an airport concession disadvantaged business enterprise. It enabled me to sign a 2-year lease. I will have the opportunity to bid on a longer and more permanent lease as a result of my performance. I like to think of my experience as not being worth it so much in the amount of money that I've made, but in what I've learned. I try to be very Buddhist about it. You know, it's not all about dollars. It's about opportunities and taking them and being able to grow from them. And that I've really benefited from.
A lot of the employees that we screen that are applying here are looking for careers. Just the challenges of getting into the airport, you really kind of weed out a lot of people that are just not willing to go that extra step, so you do get those reliable, hardworking people that really are committed. So there are some regulations. We do have to do knife counts because we are past security. We need to make sure that we have all of our sharp objects just accounted for.
All of our warehouse employees are badged. We have a single delivery 7 days a week. We have everything loaded up on carts ready to go. So once we stop the truck, the delivery folks are out and about delivering carts for all 22 stores located in the airport.
The airport is becoming more of an experience. You can go shopping, you can get some awesome food, you can get your nails done, you can get a massage, you can get a drink, so many different things.
The airport is just busier than ever. There's every age, every race, every background.
I think there's just an energy, there's an excitement that you feel when you're working at the airport that is unlike anywhere else. It sells itself, really.
So that was a video that was both for internal and external audiences. And what was cool about that video was that it used stop motion. And so stop motion really is just images compiled together. So then SeaTac also had thousands of images, which they could pull from for other marketing uses. So it really becomes kind of cost effective in a lot of different ways, and it's a tool that can be used on a lot of different mediums for them as well. So there's a lot of different opportunities with videos depending on budget and cost. I know that's often a concern. So looking at animation or stop motion where you can get a little bit more bang for your buck is always a really fun way to approach videos. The last tool I wanted to talk about was online surveys. Online surveys are typically lower in cost than your traditional phone surveys, and they also provide you with some more valid data than phone surveys. People are able to view the questions first and think about their answers, and so you're getting more comprehensive data than, say, a phone survey or an intercept survey. And you can also incorporate your graphics and your audio and your videos. So again, another place that you can incorporate some of those other tools that we talked about earlier. And it also can be programmed in a variety of languages. So I think that's one of the great things about using online tools, is that you can really reach those limited English populations in a more effective way than some of your in-person tools. We use online surveys for CTAC to kind of get customer perception of what the airport is to them and in the region as a whole, and it really became the baseline for some of the messaging platforms that we developed for them and our approach overall. And then you can use it again in a couple of years and kind of see if you've moved the needle at all. So it's a really great tool. And then kind of wanted to talk briefly on social media and how to use social media to drive people to these online tools. There's a lot of different platforms. We usually focus on Facebook and Twitter for the tools that I just talked about. But there are a lot of different approaches with organic posts or paid advertising or boosting those organic posts, and then also just blogs. We also typically take online publications, specifically foreign language publications, and do advertising there to really make sure we're reaching those broader audiences. But social media is a relatively inexpensive way to really target and engage with a broad variety of audiences. So thank you so much for listening to me right before lunch. My contact information is up there. I'm happy to answer any additional questions that aren't addressed during the Q&A.
Next up, we have Brent Campbell from Flashpoint Marketing to talk to you about some next level up and coming opportunities to use digital technology to drive engagement at your airport.
Hello. Hi. How's everyone doing? Cool. So my name's Brent Campbell, and I work at a digital marketing agency in San Diego. And we work with a lot of different verticals. The talk I'm going to be doing today is going to be on some of the emerging technologies that are out right now in marketing in general. So these will cover airports, but they cover various marketplaces. I have put together my top 3 digital marketing trends for 2017, and this is not an all-inclusive list, okay? But these are the 3 areas that I think are most important for us to all consider when we look at the future of digital marketing. So we're going to talk about accelerated mobile pages, voice search, and we're going to talk a little bit about chatbots and their use with messaging apps. So let's get started with the accelerated mobile pages. AMP, or Accelerated Mobile Pages, it's an open source project that was started by Google and Twitter. There are some other organizations that are involved as well. Those are the primary ones. And it's put together so that we can have web pages that load extremely fast. So these are stripped down web pages. They don't include all of the bells and whistles that you can have on a normal HTML page. It's just stripped down for mobile devices only. So you may have started to see these show up in your search results on your phone. They started showing up in February of last year. And you can tell that it's an AMP page by that circular icon that's got the Thunderbolt in it. In October of last year, they were enhanced a little bit more. They're continuously under development. In October, they released the ability to use forms on those pages. So here's a look at what some of the search results look like on a mobile device for those AMP pages. So you can see they're using a variety of formats. The initial release was in the carousel format. That's like the Bloomberg photo there, where you can kind of flip through the images. And most often, they're being used for news websites and for content that is being updated frequently. So they load really quickly. Why wouldn't we just have our whole website be AMP pages right now? There's some pros and cons. So before you start releasing AMP pages, you want to kind of consider what pages are best suited for it. I don't think that most websites would be suited to have their entire website ported over to AMP pages quite yet. But let's look at some of the pros and cons here. So on the pro side, the pages load faster, between 15 to 85% faster, which is quite a significant improvement on your load time. They are also given priority in search because of this faster load time. So it could give you a little bit of a boost for your SEO for that particular page. There's also been some studies that have come out. One came out from Chartbeat that said that they noticed that visitors to AMP pages tend to spend on average 35% more time on the page, which is interesting because the pages are a little bit more limited. They don't quite have all the bells and whistles a normal HTML page would have, but people tend to engage with them longer. Perhaps this is because they load so fast. I'm not really sure, but it's an interesting thing to note. The other pro that we have is that it improves your server speed. It's less taxing on your own servers because the content is loaded from Google's CDN, their content delivery network. So the pages are cached from Google, so they load extremely quickly. Now, to some of the cons. The form integration's kind of complex. As I mentioned, they released forms last year, but if you're using a third-party application to do your forms on your website, like Gravity Forms, or there's a whole host of forms that are used on sites, some of them aren't ported to AMP pages yet. So this means you really need to have a developer or a team of developers help you put together these pages. The other thing is that AMP pages are just for mobile devices. They don't serve on desktop, so you need to maintain 2 versions of the page. The other thing is they're fairly new. So for some websites, the plugins and modules to incorporate these aren't quite there. They're either new or they don't exist yet. And then lastly, if you have a page that has ads running on it, you can run ads with AMP pages, but it's a little bit tricky. So there's a concern with ad revenue dropping on those type of pages, as well as the analytics that you can get with Google Analytics is a little bit limited for AMP pages too. So those are some of the pros and cons. Given that, let's look at some of the possible use cases for airports. At the moment, I don't think AMP pages are really ready for lead generation, and I know that's something that a lot of airports aren't focusing on, but it's something to make note of. Because the forms are so new, it's probably not the best use to have it be a lead generation page. But if it's a page that has like blog content or news articles, those would be good pages to look at, perhaps using as AMP pages. Also pages that are related to directions or locations. That's another good use case. And any pages that are getting a lot of mobile traffic. Those are all good opportunities to use for AMP pages. And I think that you'll see these are going to become more and more common as time goes on. So now let's take a look at voice search. Just by show of hands, are any of you using voice search in your day-to-day lives? Do you use it with Google or Alexa? Okay, yeah, okay, quite a few. From the results that we have right now, or the statistics that are out right now, we're noticing that approximately 40% of adults are using voice search at least once per day. I know I'm one of those people, and I know quite a few other people that are starting to use it more and more, because it's easier to talk to my device rather than type it out. Right now, we are predicting that approximately 50% of the searches that are going to be done by 2020 are going to be done via voice search. And most of the voice-related searches are local-based, so that's another thing to keep in mind. And then one other thing to note is that both Alexa and Siri are powered by Bing, not by Google. So when you're looking at your local search, you want to keep in mind that your site should be submitted to Bing and be performing well on Bing, especially when it comes to voice search related searches, which let's talk a little bit about how they differ from normal searches. So voice search tends to use natural language search queries. This is the who, what, when, where, how, why. You know, when people are talking to their device, they tend to talk more like they're talking to a human than when they're just typing in keywords for a search. So the way that we can use this to our advantage is to look at what people are searching for that would be a natural language search query, and optimize our websites for those natural language search queries. We will tend to have a better results in voice search. So here's some use cases for airports. Obviously local search, you know, where's the such and such located at this airport. Enhancing our FAQ pages. FAQ pages are a great place to have those natural language type of search queries. You can also, if you're not sure what would be relevant for you, you can take a look at your search console and see what natural language search queries are coming in. Optimize for those. And then some possibilities for some integrations would be things like flight times, public announcements, and more. So those integrations kind of segues into the next topic here, which is using chatbots and messaging apps. So what are chatbots? Chatbots are basically robots that talk to people on our behalf. They allow us to have automated communications with people through our website and through our apps. They can help your followers with all kinds of things: customer service related questions, answers to frequently asked questions, surveys, product purchases, directions, the list goes on. There's a lot of options, basically anything you can think of. And then how can these chatbots be integrated for us? They can be integrated on websites and on various apps, but one of the most common use cases right now is with social messaging apps like Facebook Messenger. So I just wanted to take a quick look at how these messaging apps are trending. So when we talk about social media, we're both talking about social networking apps as well as social messaging apps. And when we take a look at the two, as you can see here, the four big messaging apps, the trend is that they're growing extremely quickly. And as of right now, when we look at monthly active users, there's actually more volume with those social messaging apps than there are with the social networking apps. So this is a great opportunity for us to reach people in an application that's got a lot of growth. Here's some possible use cases for airports to use those chat bots with social messaging. The first thing is answering customer service related questions. You could also help travelers find flights, search by airline, explore airport amenities, shops, restaurants, etc. And you can also look at getting real-time updates pushed and surveys, polls. There's quite a long list of things that you could do with chatbots and messaging apps. So right now, when it comes to these chatbots being used for airports, I haven't actually found an airport currently that is running a chatbot on their social messaging application yet. I've seen a beta version being ran at the Frankfurt airport. It's called the Frankie chatbot. It's from BotMakers, and the link is over here. You can actually use this and kind of get an idea of what questions can be answered and how it could be used for an airport. As I mentioned, this one's currently under beta, but from my testing with it, it looks pretty good. So I'd have a feeling they're probably going to release that rather soon. The only other demo version that I saw was from a company called SkyChat, and they've put together a chat bot that's specifically for airports, and this developer appears to be out of Hong Kong, and they have a demo version that you can run as well. It's supposed to be multilingual, but my experience was that the English part of it isn't quite put together yet. And so with that, that's the end of my presentation. I want to thank everyone, and please do connect with me. I'll be around afterwards, so I'd love to say hi.
And last up, we have Rebecca Bloomfield with San Diego International Airport to talk to us about social media and how the airport is using it.
All right, hi everyone. I am very aware I am in the last presentation before lunch, so let's get going. All right, so just to give you a little bit of background, about a year and a half ago, the airport social media was being done by committee. There were 3 or 4 of us trying to do it as part of our daily duties, and it just wasn't being done very well. So we decided that we were going to hire someone to focus on social media, and we did that and brought that person on about a year ago. So I'm going to talk to you a lot about kind of what that difference has made within the year, and show some good examples of it. So our social media statement is to bring Stan alive in an unforgettable way, and we really try to provide engaging content that is customer-centric and focused on our business. And again, bringing in that person on, like we did a year ago, has made quite a big difference, and I can show you that through our growth. Last year, we had over 69,000 followers, and this year we're up about nearly 8%. And for Twitter, we're up about 9%, and for Instagram, we're up a whopping 115%. And just to backtrack a little bit, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are our main pages that we use and our main platforms. We also have YouTube, Pinterest, Flickr, and Snapchat, which I will talk about a little bit later. One of the key things that we had when she came on is to really understand our audience, and knowing who they are helps drive our messaging. So for Facebook, we realized that in terms of demographics, just a slight edge, more women were engaging with us than than men. And about 50,000 of our followers are within the US, and about 38,000 are in San Diego County. So it gives us a good idea of, when we are targeting our messaging, who might be on the other end of those. For Twitter, we're about 50-50. We do know that the top things that people are interested in are business and news, and a good 75% of our followers are within the US, and a good, see my notes, all the stats, I don't know them off the top of my head, and about 48% are from California. So again, that kind of gives us a good idea of who's reading our messaging. For Instagram, this was a shocker for me a little bit. Majority of men are following our Instagram, and it's mostly airport employees or plane spotters. So now we can target our messaging. If you look at our feed, you'll notice that there's quite a few airplane photos from the wing, a lot of aviation-related stuff, because we realize that's what they are engaging with. So just delving into Twitter a little bit, this might be secondhand to some of you, but just in case it's not. Without engagement, lifespan of a tweet is estimated to be about 15 minutes. And if you're not using Twitter, you're falling a little bit behind. 68% of US companies with over 100 employees are using Twitter for marketing. So it is something that is still very useful and that people should be engaged with. 77% of users feel more positive about a brand when their tweet has been replied to. We're definitely noticing that with our customers, when even if it's just a matter of liking their tweet or retweeting something that they say, it gives them that positive experience. 92% of companies tweet more than once a day. Again, going back to that year and a half ago, we would get a tweet out and just hope that someone saw it. But we weren't really doing that follow-up engagement until we brought someone on and she was focusing on that. And 76% of consumers are likely to recommend the brand following friendly service. That's just kind of something you give a good experience, someone's going to enjoy that and probably recommend them or your airport or something to someone else. Facebook, within the first 2 hours, posts have achieved 75% of their lifetime impressions. If you just put something up there and hope someone's going to see it the next day, it's probably not going to happen. Especially with Facebook has added a lot more filters, so they make it harder for that organic reach to go farther. It still remains the most used social media site among all ages. I know my parents are still on Facebook, not so much on Instagram, but it is still popular, although Instagram is picking up speed. Nearly 1/3 of Facebook users, 32%, engage with brands regularly. Compared to Instagram, that's quite low. And I do think that's attributed to Facebook changing a lot of their filters and making it harder for that reach to get farther. 42% of customer responses from brands happen within the first 60 minutes. So if you are just putting something up there and not kind of following it or seeing what people are saying about it, you might be missing an opportunity to interact with your customers. And images are responsible for 75 to 90% of an ad's performance. That's what they say, images are worth 1,000 words, right? So if you have a very compelling image, you'll want to include that with your ad or your post. Instagram, without substantial engagement, reach declines after 3 hours. Ways to get that engagement include adding a hashtag at average of 12.6 or more engagement with those who add a hashtag over those who don't. It has 58 times more engagement per follower than Facebook, and that's what I was referring to earlier. A lot of people people enjoy to just hit a like or love button versus when they're on Facebook or engaging with those posts. And 100 million users use the Stories features daily. Stories are new to Instagram. They rolled out last August. And it is an opportunity for just a short clip that goes away after 24 hours unless you want to keep it. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. Real quick, show of hands, anyone use Snapchat in the room? Hi. So do you guys use it for business or for personal? Versus? Okay. So last year, we dabbled, if you will, with Snapchat. During Comic-Con, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the little convention that happens in San Diego, but we found we didn't have a great experience with it. There were no benchmarked analytics when we did this, and we had about 21,000 filter views for our two filters that you can see here. And we were not told in advance, but there were competing paid ad campaigns that also had filters going on at the same time, and they were in front of ours or behind ours, right, during the same time, so they kind of took away some of our views. And you might think 21,000 filter views is good, but they're not unique views, so that means, if I'm looking at my Snapchat, I look at the filter, that's counted as a view, but I could look at it 2 or 3 times, and that's still counted, So because of that, and because as of August of last year, Instagram rolled out their stories, we really focused on using Instagram where we find more of our followers than on Snapchat. And the demographics of Snapchat are a lot younger. They tend to be, at least for the most part for now. So we do focus our efforts on Instagram and the other platforms. Segueing into some some ideas for getting some more engagement is holding some type of sweepstakes or a contest. In 2015, we first tried a contest at the airport, and we struggled through it. It was very challenging. We didn't have great prizes, and it was very staff intensive, and it was an opportunity for us to learn but we've since refined that. Here's one example of when we refined. This was in October of last year, and we gave away 2 tickets on our new air service Condor flight to Frankfurt, Germany, as part of Oktoberfest. But it was a part of a bigger celebration and part of a bigger campaign that was taking place in our terminals. So the social media side of it was just a small part. And then we kind of grew from there, and we did a Spring in Your Step sweepstakes most recently in March. And that was very social media driven, more so than the Oktoberfest. We found a lot of success with that style versus kind of just having social media be aside from a bigger campaign. We use paid and organic reach, primarily on Facebook. It helped foster our brand awareness, and also built an email database for targeted marketing. And I think that was one of our biggest takeaways from that, is that we asked a simple question: how do you get to the airport? And it was an optional thing that people could answer, and it gave us great feedback that we can use to target our future marketing about parking, or whether it's shuttles or whatnot. But it was really helpful and very successful. We added about 1,400 emails to our database as part of that. So just a few takeaways. Sweepstakes or contests can help generate traffic and post engagement. We use Facebook analytics, which are very helpful for us. It really helps drive sales through promotion of concessions or parking, and increases awareness of airport offerings. Always look to share user-generated content first. This is huge for us. We always look for that. You have brand ambassadors out there. If they are talking about a great experience at your airport, excuse me, or a really cool plane, to share their experience goes a lot farther than you just talking about a cool plane. Excuse me. And identify your audience and what they engage with. I talked about earlier what our audiences are, and focusing on those. Some really easy things you could do is finding like Monday motivation, Travel Tuesday, Wisdom Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, Flashback Friday, and finding national holidays that are fun that you can share. Something going on in your terminal. We have a donut place, so we talked about National Donut Day. And of course, determining your audience. Hashtag AvGeek. I'm sure there's a few of us in here. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you for the coffee cup engagement. I'd first like to thank our sponsors for this session: HMS Host, Mintnerfield Airport District, and Daifuku Logan Teleflex. And I think between Instagram and chatbots and online open houses, our panel has really covered a lot. And I want to know if there are any questions for our speakers from the audience. Because I got a few, so you're going to hear them anyway. Starting with Sarah, I think you touched on it briefly, but how can you really use your programs and platforms to be flexible with smaller budgets?
Yeah, that's a question we get a lot from our clients. They love all the ideas, but then once it comes down to implementing and you get into the nitty-gritty of costs, it becomes a different picture. And I think with a lot of these tools, there's a lot of flexibility with platforms and customization. The online open house that I showed was a customized website that we did, which obviously costs more than some of the existing tools like Citrix, and so I think it's just kind of first figuring out project goals and who those audiences that you want to reach are, and then there's just a lot of flexibility in terms of using the various tools that exist already or finding a tool to work for you. With the videos and with the online surveys, I think it's also kind of finding a package and finding some efficiencies between all of the various tools that you want to use. As I mentioned, that stop motion video, they then had thousands of images to use for other marketing materials and folios and brochures. So I think that you can really kind of look at some of those options to maximize your budgets. And obviously those images can be used on social media and some of those other digital tools that were mentioned today. So I think it's kind of first having that real conversation of who your audiences are and what your goals are and what your budget is, and then figuring out how you can package these tools to really work for you. But they're all super flexible, and I think can really work with any budget if you're creative. So, yeah.
Thank you, and I'm sure you are, so that helps. Yes, Mark.
You covered the chatbots and some of the other things, things of that nature. Could you talk about augmented reality and virtual reality tied to social media as well as some of the other leading edge things?
Sure, yeah. So we're in a really exciting time right now because there's so many new technologies that are emerging, and they're emerging really rapidly. So, yeah. Here we go. This is a little better? Great. Yeah, so we're in a really exciting time right now with all of the emerging technologies that are coming out. We're really on the forefront of a new era, I believe. And so augmented reality is one component of that. And just so that everybody understands what augmented reality is, I'm sure most of you do, but it's where you have like a virtual reality put together with your regular reality. One of the kind of famous examples of this would be the Pokemon app, where you have video that you can see through your phone, and you have characters that are also, you can see them on your phone, but they're obviously not there in real life. I have not seen an application of that used for airports yet. However, it may be being used, I'm just not aware of it. But it is one of the new emerging technologies that has a lot of, there's a lot of opportunity for some cool stuff that you can do with that. Closely related to that, I would say that the 360 video that we're seeing on YouTube right now is another opportunity for enhanced engagement with our customers, our users. You know, this could be a situation where you could have a video where you can, you know, move your device, your phone around, and you can kind of see an entire environment as if you're there. I think that in terms of implementation, that would be a less costly implementation than the augmented reality for right now. And it would probably be a little bit easier, not just in terms of cost, but in terms of actually implementing it. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but it's an exciting thing, yes.
I think
A couple of weeks ago at the AAA Airport Innovation Forum in Seattle, they had some examples of augmented reality, not at the airport, but in other verticals. So it's something that airports are looking at and considering in the wonderful world of innovation together.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
I saw a tourism video using the 360 video where it's you're in the plane descending onto an island outside of Australia, and you get to watch the pilots, and you look outside your window and you can see your descent, and you get to experience being in the plane and actually coming into the island itself. And it was just a wonderful, exciting way to share how you get to this particular airport. And I think there's a lot of applications for terminal expansions and new opportunities to share with people who may not even be traveling with you what your story and experience is as an airport. Any other questions from the audience?
My question is for Rebecca from San Diego. So have you had any recent emergency incidents that have occurred where you've had to use social media and just lessons learned from it if you've had, I mean, ranging from maybe big time utility disruptions to, aircraft accidents, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a recent example, but I do know that when we typically go straight for Twitter when there is crisis, it's our first place where we'll contact folks and let them know that that's a location to get information from, and we continue that trend and keep that conversation going to let people know that that's where they can find information if there is an incident. I can't think of one off the top of my head unfortunately. Hopefully I've probably blocked it out, but.
We did have that power outage a few years ago.
Yeah, we did have a power outage. That was 2010, I think. We had a countywide power outage where we did have to use social media because there were no cameras, TVs, nothing else was going on. So we were communicating through Twitter, and we really let people know that way through how our airport is operating, if we're closed, or impacts of that nature. It's usually through Twitter.
This question is for Rebecca. Right here. I'm right next to her. I'm just wondering about the sweepstakes and the different types of contests.
Mhm.
Are you partnering with other agencies, or is the airport incurring that cost?
We incur the cost. We try and work with the airlines on donations, if that's possible, or things. For the Spring in Your Step sweepstakes specifically, it included $800 for hotel package, $500 shopping spree at the airport, which allowed them to, get our concessions and visit our concessions, valet parking, and 2 round-trip tickets to San Francisco. So we partner when we can, but we do incur that cost. But I think given the reach that we get, it is beneficial to us, and the awareness of the brand and all the concessions that we have at the airport.
I have a follow-up for you, Rebecca. You guys use 3 different platforms, but probably to reach different audiences. So tell me, if you had a new air service announcement, how you would use each of those 3 tools.
So for an air service announcement, for Instagram, it would be, of course, still photo, but we use a lot of hashtags to try and keep that engagement going. For Twitter, of course, a short tweet. If we can retweet a news article or something, that's always a good idea. So it's not coming straight from us, but coming from, again, another source. And for Facebook, they've really kind of clamped down on links. They don't allow organic reach to go as far when you include a link. So we might just tag the other airport or tag the destination somehow to have that link, and try and get it to go further. But I think that's pretty much it.
I think if there are no other questions, we will break for lunch. I appreciate your attention, and please give a round of applause to our speakers. Excellent job.
Yeah, good job, guys.
Do you know if they're going to I know they're streaming the video, but do you think they're going to have a recorded version?
I'm not sure. I'll find out. I'm
Okay.
sure. Excellent to prove to people you were here to really work and not just go to Newport. Or even a photo. Sorry, babe.
Can we do one panel photo?
You can use my phone.
said in order, right? Like presidents. Okay. And you have spare agendas. Do you need help with that? Okay, perfect. Oh, yeah.
So how was it decided who gets to sit at the kitty table?
Done after this.
I'm so excited.
Thank you, sir.
Islands industry. That is what we are. Thank you, sir.
So pissed off right now. Oh my god, you have no idea. There's no food. Just kidding. She does that. I love it. She does that.
You don't need to eat lunch, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're gonna eat, and then we'll do it. This goes to 1:30, right?
2.
This goes to 2?
Yeah. Says right there. 22.
Plenty of time.
We found out that originally it wasn't enough.
Thank you, sir.
My business.
You want to run the meeting for me too? Absolutely. All right, man.
Sweet. Thank you. What the hell's up with your board? They all just found random spots to sit. Richard's over there. Yeah. Since we got room and everybody else is just kind of wherever they want.
Isn't Corinne on the board? She's got to come over here too.
Yeah. I have her over here. So
Why don't you tell the board people to come sit up here?
you're still president. Get to it.
I can delegate right now.
No. I don't have that pull yet.
Oh, you do.
I got one.
I'm good.
I'm gonna have green shit in my teeth. I know it.
Don't be eating any green shit.
Is that
Oh, is this
poopy?
thing on? are we Facebooking live this?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That'd be funny.
Is this thing on?
Getting you with a mouthful.
Especially if the bosses are watching.
Richard's working for me right now. Actually, he's getting me speech stuff for Pfeiffer.
Okay. He's excused then.
find bored people, tell them to come sit up here? Is that what you're looking for? He's sitting down with John Pfeiffer right now.
Straight back.
Sure. And Corinne too, right? I can't move over anymore. There's a leg right here. Otherwise I would.
Hey,
There's a leg right here.
no excuses, buddy. You need to do what it takes to get it done.
Straddle the leg, baby. Straddle the
I
leg.
think I am.
Yeah, baby. That's not a leg.
Well, it's not your leg.
John Duvall was commenting, he thought it was interesting that we're having elections and there's multiple candidates. And now it turns into a political thing. And you've seen in other chapters where it's the nominating committee and you only have one. It's like, well, but then
That's not an
that's all
election then.
back room.
Yeah.
And so he sees both. In the cases where it's done by the nominating committee, it's to
It's
reward.
not political like AAA.
No salad?
No, I was looking for butter.
Down there.
No salad for me. All right. If I can get some butter. Butter? Yeah, we don't have any.
So does that concept for tonight actually sound good or not?
Yes. It does. I wouldn't do this though.
No, that's just with you.
That's what
That's
I make
backroom
sure.
shit.
That's what I mean.
Especially not in front of my wife because she was a social worker.
It's an exciting time for you, man. Enjoy the ride. I certainly did. You got a really good board. I'm just concerned about your second VP, but otherwise.
I'm concerned about the first VP. But
That guy? I saw that. You know what, brother? I love you.
Right here.
want some bread?
No, I'm good.
Shouldn't Scott like be up here?
No.
I know he's not.
I'm going to recognize it to here. Thank you very much. So, last time,
I think Richard put a salad right there. That guy just came and got it.
Thank you.
Just happened. They did.
Thank you.
But no one's eaten it once, so. Thank you.
So, thank you. All right, I'll take a bread now, please.
I gotta carry the log around here.
Excuse me, one second.
exactly.
Thanks a lot. Slab of butter.
Yeah. No. Whatever. We got like 6 splits. Yeah, but you go the other way. Yeah, you're right.
You're right.
She's right. I'm wrong.
You are the man.
Would you like me to butter your bread?
Well,
for you?
you want to butter my bun, big guy? I really, really appreciate it. I'll buy you a drink tonight. Thanks, man. You'll accept? Wonderful.
What were we saying about last year?